millennials make good employees, is what we're discussing this morning. And we're joined by millennial YouTuber Zeze Millz, who thinks her generation are forward-thinking and passionate employees. And Nina Myskow, who says the majority of millennials are narcissistic individuals. Is that your experience, Nina?
Absolutely. And, you know, let's be fair. We're not dismissing an entire generation. There are individuals and there are very forward-thinking people and hardworking and charming, lovely people. But on the whole, actually, what that police report said is pretty accurate. It's like they've been wrapped in cotton wool. They think the world owes them a living. They think just by turning up, it's just going to be... They don't understand the concept of hard work, self-sacrifice. I know life shouldn't be all toil and, you know, walking, shoeless through the snow to get to your work. But, you know, there's a certain amount of commitment, loyalty, team playing that has to go on. And, you know, it seems to me that there are a bunch of big girls' blouses. You know, the slightest bit of trouble, the slightest bit of confrontation. And first of all, they... shock, horror, then they either go to one of two ways. They either go sort of hissy fit and then a flounce, or they go all snowflakey and they, oh no,
Zeze?
grow up, you know, come on, grow up. They haven't grown up. That bunch of 8-year-olds, Can you imagine the poster that...
You've got to let us... This 8-year-old speak.
Just one thing. You know, we've had terrible headlines with all the political situation now, but imagine the headline: Millennials are in charge. I mean, run for the hills.
I think I have to disagree with that. I think we are passionate, and I think what it is that maybe in your era, you wasn't allowed to speak up. We're allowed to speak up now.
I've always spoken up, as you can hear. Nobody's ever shut me up.
We speak up. We're not entitled. And anything, if we're entitled, that's because I would actually blame it on the fact that during school, our educational system, we're told you have to, if you work hard, you're going to get your dream job. And that's not what's happened. You come out and we realise that actually life is hard and we have to work really hard. So if anything, instead of teaching us about Pythagoras and all that stuff at school, teach us about mortgages and stuff like that. And when we come out, we'll be a lot more well-equipped than thinking...
So you're blaming this education system?
I'm saying that it has a part to play with that.
What else are you blaming? You blame everything.
No, I'm not blaming everything. I'm saying all these things are contributing factors, and you can't just paint us all saying, oh, we're lazy. If anything, we're a lot smarter. We work...
Smarter in what way? More intelligent?
We work smarter, and instead of working all these long hours, a lot of us have seen our parents work a lot of long hours and with no reward. And they've missed out on family life, they've missed out on socialising, and we've seen that from our parents, and we thought, we're not going to do that.
That is the point, Nina. Maybe they're the product of the generation that raised them, if there are that criticisms. And you talked about loyalty and commitment. There's not many youngsters that see loyalty. There's no such thing as a job for life anymore. Very often they're on 0 hours contract. They're having to find their way in a new world, aren't they? And it might mean that sometimes it appears more selfish, but actually perhaps it's survival.
No, survival's one thing. And I do think it is, in a way, it's almost not that generation's fault, because it's been helicopter parenting. I can understand the wishes of a parent to protect their children from, you know, the pain of life. But in wrapping them in cotton wool, in protecting them too much, they're not exposing them to, in a gradual way, to real life. So they learn how. So they don't learn how to cope along the way.
Millennials, we are risk takers. We take risks. We are like
risk takers. You barely get out of bed. A lot of you.
No, we take risks.
So it's a risk getting out of bed. Okay, you might fall over.
I might not get out of bed, but I can use my laptop to be an entrepreneur, and I can do what I need to do on my laptop, and I can progress in life from the comfort of my bed, instead of waking up in the morning. And like, my mum gets up every morning to go to work, and I can stay at home, I can work from home, I can do that. And that's because we're forward thinking and we're using technology.
You're lucky.
What it is, because you work in marketing, but you're also a YouTuber as well.
Right.
What do your mum make of your lifestyle and how you work? Is she ever saying, come on, Zeze, you need to go out there, you need to get out there and get after it? Or is she sort of sitting there going, you've got the balance right, because I'm toiling and I'm working really, really hard and I've missed out on so much?
I think that we have the balance right. We work hard, and I think we need to, like, dismiss this narrative of just because we don't work long hours that we're not working hard. We work hard, it's just that we know how to balance. And just because I don't stay at work till 8 o'clock doesn't mean that I'm not working hard. And
have you ever had an employer that has asked you to do extra hours because you've got a bit of work that needed to be done, a presentation or something like that, and you've said, no, I'm sorry, I finish at 5 o'clock, I finish at 6 o'clock, I'm off?
I mean, I think you have to find the balance. I think if you know... I think the main thing is making sure that you complete your work. That's the main thing. I always make sure I complete my work. If I haven't completed it, then I'm willing to stay. However, a lot of these employees, they want you to stay extra with no reward. So I'm missing out on my social life. I'm missing out on growing up. I'm missing out on doing a lot of things. And at the end of the day, who's it for? It's for them.
You're very lucky.
I'm making their life better, but my life is
You're very
rubbish,
lucky. You work in
basically.
marketing, so you're obviously smart enough and creative enough to do that. Plus, you're smart enough to start your blog, OK? But you are almost not the exception, but you are at the top of the pile. There's a whole middle bunch. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the people who don't have that talent, who don't have that punch. You've got your own drive, who don't have that drive. I mean, for instance, if supposing there's someone who say, I'd like to be a breakfast television presenter, and they say, well, yes, let's test you out, and you can read the auto cue, you look great, blah, 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 and you can interview people. Now, you've got to get in at 5 in the morning. No, I'm not going to do that.
That'll be a lie.
That'll
be a lie, just in case anybody
and
thinks
then they say, well, that's not fair. But I'll make a good television presenter. No, sweetheart, you have to be here at 5. No, I'd rather come in at 10. Sorry, show's over.
No, I think you have to find... I think
that's an exaggeration.
You've got to find what you're... I think a lot of millennials find what they're passionate at, and if they find something that they're passionate at, then they do go that extra mile.
If they could get out of bed. Yes, but you're talking about people like you. We're not discussing the majority of people who...
But I know a lot of people that not necessarily like me, not in the same field as me, and they do get up and they do work hard. And I think it's unfair to paint everyone with the same brush and say that we're...
How come millennials have got this reputation? It hasn't sprung out of nowhere.
I actually think that your generation is quite entitled, to be fair. I would say that your generation is quite entitled. You're
quite entitled, thank you.
It's very stuck in how things used to be. Things have progressed.
I'm not stuck in things I used to be.
Probably the last generation to own your own property and all of that. There's lots of youngsters that can't get that.
But I should work really hard for what?
But then the system of housing will change. It's only in this country that we're so hung up with owning our own houses. You go to Europe or America, you can rent. There's a good rental market. It's the fact that this country is stuck. I don't know why we're talking about bricks and mortar, but that's really nothing to do with it. But I generally think that millennials have got that reputation for a reason, and they can blame who they like, but it's their parents.
There were lots of people getting in touch. Ben says, I thought about applying myself until I read the full job description. I was actually shocked at how poor the salary is for the job they do. This is the 20,000 police officers. Stefano says, if the government allocated resources possibly paid them to deserve recruits, it would be easier. Rusty says, the police officer salary isn't really that attractive. Approximately £23,500 for all the abuse and the other stuff the police have to put up with every day. You can work in a warehouse for roughly the same amount of money and not have to work weekends. Maybe more incentives.
But then Lynn on Facebook says, let's hope these poor petals never need a doctor, nurse, paramedic, fire officer, voluntary Coast Guard out of normal working hours and at weekends. They need to have a reality check.
We need to find 20,000 police officers, so hopefully we'll find enough that can measure up.
Well, the thing is, recently we had the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Can you imagine the millennial generation making the sacrifices that generation? It's not my generation, it's my parents' generation made.
Well, no, it's a very good point, although there are many people in armed forces, I think, do make extraordinary sacrifices today, and youngsters too. So,
Zeze, you back off to bed to finish work?
I'm actually got to take my dog to the vet doing responsible stuff, see? There you go, see?